I live in a quiet, leafy suburban neighborhood tucked away just outside of Charleston, South Carolina. Think tree-lined streets, pastel houses, and mailboxes shaped like ducks. It's the kind of neighborhood that smells like fresh-cut grass and HOA violations. I moved here 5 years ago for the peace and quiet, unaware that behind the boxwood hedges and cheerful porch swings lay a festering den of power-hungry busybodies, the Homeowners Association. Now, I'm not new to HOAs. I've lived in neighborhoods with bylaws before. Keep your lawn trimmed, don't paint your house neon orange, and don't host wild rave parties. Reasonable stuff. But this HOA, they took it to a whole new level. Every horror story needs a villain. Mine is named Sandra Billings. Sandra is the HOA president and self-proclaimed neighborhood curator. Imagine someone who wears a pantsuit to a barbecue and carries a clipboard like it's a third arm. She's the kind of woman who will knock on your door if your garbage cans are visible from the road. She has a martini glass permanently affixed to her hand and a network of neighborhood spies made up of other equally insufferable retirees. She hated me from the moment I moved in, maybe because I refused to show up to HOA meetings, or maybe because I painted my shutters black instead of approved colonial blue. Whatever the reason, Sandra and I had history, and not the romantic kind, which is why what happened next shocked even me. 3 months ago, I received an envelope taped to my door with a golden seal that read, "Official HOA Business." Inside was a letter on embossed stationery with florid cursive font that looked like it had been designed by a bored Victorian ghost. Dear Mr. Riley Carter, the HOA is pleased to inform you that your backyard has been selected as the venue for the Charleston Community Spring Wedding Gala on May 21st, 2025. We appreciate your contribution to the beautification of the community and look forward to your cooperation. Yours in fellowship, Sandra Billings, President. I read the letter 3 times. I even checked my address. Then I laughed, out loud. Was this some kind of joke? I didn't volunteer my yard. I wasn't renting it out. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let 100 strangers trample my grass while Sandra plays wedding planner. I emailed, called, and even marched over to Sandra's house to get answers. She answered the door wearing a satin robe, cucumber slices on her eyes, sipping a cucumber martini. "Riley," she sighed like I was an annoying toddler. "You've been selected. Your yard has the best natural lighting and an excellent azalea hedge. It's been approved by the board." "Approved by WHO?" I demanded. She waved her hand. "Oh, don't be dramatic. We'll handle everything. Setup, cleanup, security. You just enjoy the spotlight." "Absolutely not," I said flatly. "My property is not a public venue. You signed the HOA charter when you moved in. Clause 4.6, subpoint D, residents agree to participate in community events at the discretion of the HOA board." She smirked and closed the door in my face. That night I read the HOA charter like it was a sacred text. And yeah, there was a clause about reasonable community participation. But I found nothing that allowed anyone to commandeer private property. So I did what any reasonable man would do. I called my lawyer. Turns out, Sandra had misinterpreted the clause, or more accurately, twisted it into an unrecognizable pretzel of HOA tyranny. My lawyer, Greg, assured me there was no legal basis for them to use my property without consent. But if I wanted to shut it down officially, I'd have to file for an injunction and possibly a civil suit. That would take weeks. Too long. Because the wedding date was approaching fast, I had emails from community volunteers asking if they could access my shed for power or my guest bathroom for the bride's dressing area. They had ordered catering, a DJ, and even portable fountains for my lawn. I escalated, sent cease and desist letters, hired a fence company to build a temporary wooden barrier. Sandra removed the fence, claimed it was unsightly and unapproved. That's when I knew something needed to change. I wasn't going to fight this with paperwork. No, this needed something bigger, something permanent. Enter the demolition. A week before the wedding, I did something drastic. I sold my house, not to just anyone. I sold it to a local commercial development company I'd done some contracting work for in the past. They were interested in the land for a boutique coffee shop. I explained the situation, showed them the letters, and pitched a vision. They bought it the next day, in cash. The sale closed on Tuesday. The wedding was on Saturday, and on Thursday morning, I gave the green light. At 8:15 a.m. sharp, 3 demolition trucks rolled up. The neighborhood watched in stunned horror as fences were knocked down, landscaping torn up, and the back deck crushed like a soda can. My house was scheduled for full demolition within 48 hours. Sandra came sprinting down the street like a peacock in panic mode. "What is the meaning of this?" she shrieked. I was sitting on a lawn chair with a coffee in hand. "Just clearing space for the bride," I said. "This is vandalism." She screamed, "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. I sold the property." "You what?" "Yeah, sold it. New owners are developing it. Construction starts Monday." She turned purple. "You can't sell without HOA approval." "Check the bylaws," I said calmly. "You have no authority over property sales. It's private land." She stood there, trembling, speechless as the excavator began smashing through my kitchen wall. That's when I smiled and added, "By the way, if anyone shows up here on Saturday, they'll need a hard hat." Fallout. The wedding. Canceled. The HOA sued by multiple parties. Turns out the bride's parents had shelled out over $20,000 based on Sandra's assurances. They weren't pleased. My lawyer helped coordinate the legal carnage. Sandra was ousted from the board in a vote that became legend in our neighborhood. Her martini-sipping reign of terror ended with her standing in a courtroom, trying to explain why she thought a private residence was community property. The new coffee shop is called Riley's Wreckage. They even have a mural of a smiling bulldozer on the wall. I moved to a nice cabin outside Asheville. No HOAs, just birds, trees, and freedom. But sometimes, I sit on the porch, sip my drink, and smile. Because somewhere in Charleston, Sandra's probably clutching her clipboard and twitching every time she hears a bulldozer. 6 months later, I got a postcard last week. It was anonymous, but I could tell it was from a neighbor. It read, "The HOA has approved a memorial rock garden where your lawn used to be. Sandra is petitioning for a no construction zone. The coffee shop makes a mean espresso. Your eye, a legend." I framed it because sometimes the best revenge is demolition.